Yesterday, Executive Committee directed administration to present a draft vehicle for hire bylaw to be discussed at a non-statutory public hearing on Wednesday, September 16th. Executive Committee also directed that the bylaw be released early in order to provide stakeholders and the public an opportunity for comment. It will be released this morning on our webpage, Edmonton.ca/vehicle for hire, all is one word. We have copies for you, as you probably already have received. All vehicles for hire share a common purpose, that is to provide high quality, efficient and timely transportation services to customers in a way that meets the customer's needs and lifestyle. The proposed bylaw will facilitate the entry of new participants in the market while meeting the demands and expectations of Edmontonians and maintaining regulations that ensure public safety and compliance. The proposed bylaw is based on three separate principles. Modernization. The bylaw accounts for new technologies and public expectations. Prioritization. The bylaw regulates matters that ensure safety of customers, but does not regulate matters that are more appropriate for the industry itself to regulate. That is, such as driver's training. Equity. All vehicles are subject to the same rules, creating an equal opportunity market for all vehicle for hire services. This will be accomplished through the introduction of a new class of vehicle for hire, private transportation providers, PTPs for short. These providers can use their private vehicles for commercial services if they meet the requirements of this proposed bylaw. In the proposed bylaw, there are three types of licenses issued by the city: a vehicle license, a driver's license, and a dispatch license. Vehicle licenses will be separated into 5 classes: taxi, accessible taxi, limousine, shuttle, and private transportation provider. Provisions will be put in place to transition current vehicle for hire licenses to the appropriate class. The new class of private transportation providers are people who use their private vehicles to provide transportation services. The key is these trips must be pre-arranged or pre-booked. Basic requirements for obtaining a vehicle license are standardized across all classes. To obtain a vehicle license, the applicant must prove that the vehicle is registered, insured, and will be operated only by a person with a valid city driver's license. Mechanical inspections will no longer be required at the time of application. However, the inspection will still be required at least once per year from a licensed mechanic, but kept in the vehicle and produced on demand to an enforcement officer. Vehicle licenses will now only have to be renewed every 2 years, as opposed to every year that is current practice. This will ease the burden of complying with bylaw requirements. There is one exception, and that is with PTPs. They will have the option of a 1 or 2 year vehicle license. We recognize that this is a new class of provider, and someone who may want to provide taxi services or be a taxi driver may not want to commit to 2 year license. The existing cap of 1,235 vehicle license will remain for taxis. However, the limit on accessible taxis, which is currently 95, will be removed and have no cap. This responds to the demanded increase for accessible taxi services. PTPs will also have no cap on licenses. Currently, we have different driver's licenses for taxi, limousines, and shuttles. With the proposed bylaw, there will be only one city driver's license for all classes of vehicle for hire. In order to obtain a city license, a person must have a provincial Class 1, 2, or 4 driver's license and provide a recent satisfactory criminal record check. Driver's licenses are renewed every 2 years, which is currently the rule. We are removing the current requirements to provide driver's abstracts, driver training, defensive driving training, and English language testing. The reason is that these requirements are better controlled by the industry. Existing taxi brokers, limousine service providers, shuttle service providers, and the new category of companies that dispatch private transportation provider vehicles will all become dispatchers under the proposed bylaw. The term broker is being abandoned. They will be required to obtain a license by completing an application form and submitting the fee of $1,000. They must only dispatch licensed vehicles operated by licensed drivers. They must keep specified records related to their dispatch activities, and these records must be available to the city on request and will be used to monitor the implementation of this bylaw, to provide informed recommendations for future amendments. Operationally, all vehicles for hire must continue to display information such as a vehicle license number and the city driver's license for the person operating the vehicle. However, these requirements have been revised to allow this information to either be displayed in the vehicle or provided electronically to the customer, such as through a mobile application. In the proposed bylaw, taxis will be able to continue their traditional dispatching system. However, only taxis will be able to pick up flag trips at curbside or use taxi stands and taxi hydrant stands. Because of this, taxis will be required to have operating meters, a top light, vehicle markings, and color to identify the dispatcher. In contrast, PTPs will be limited to only pre-booked rides through their dispatching technology and will not be permitted to pick up flags. They will also not be able to use taxi stands or the taxi hydrant stands. Taxi shields, which are currently required, will no longer be required. However, they may be installed at the discretion of the operator. Fares for taxis and accessible taxis will remain regulated to ensure that the customer has pricing that is reliable. The late night surcharge and the van surcharge have been removed as these provisions are outdated and have not proven improved customer service as originally expected. In addition, the rate map that is currently implemented by the Edmonton International Airport has been incorporated into the bylaw. However, the bylaw stipulates that the rate on the map is a maximum. And if the fare meter is less, that's the rate that applies. PTPs will not have regulated fares. Fares will be determined by the market which could result in overall lower fares. However, at peak time, fares may be higher because private providers alter the rates based on demand. In addition, the current minimum hourly fare for limousines has been removed. In the proposed bylaw, there is a new accessibility vehicle license surcharge of $50 that applies only to PTP provider licenses. This levy on PTPs is to ensure a viable public transportation system. It will be used to offer grants to drivers who would like to have an accessible taxi vehicle license. Accessible taxis have the added initial cost of converting a van to wheelchair accessibility, and the intent of this grant is to help with this cost. The details of the grant program are being developed. Fines have been revised to ensure consistency and to deter unlicensed activity. Any person that operates an unlicensed vehicle, operates a vehicle without a city driver's license, engages in dispatch activities without a license, or dispatches drivers of vehicles that are not licensed will be subject to a minimum fine of $5,000. In conclusion, this proposed bylaw is a made in and for Edmonton solution that reconciles traditional livery standards with modern expectations. Administration has extensively reviewed the proposed bylaw and all feedback we have heard from stakeholders over the past 9 months. We believe this proposed bylaw balances the interest of the public and industry without creating undue restrictions or hardships for any person that desires to operate legally in the city. The next steps. A public meeting with Executive Committee will be held on Wednesday, September 16th from 1:30 to 9:30 and continue, if necessary, on Thursday, September 17th from 9:30 to noon. This will allow for public input on the proposed bylaw. At the meeting, committee can do one of three things: send the matter back to administration, pass motions to amend the proposed bylaw, or send it up to council. It is at council that a decision whether to pass the bylaw occurs. We encourage anyone with an interest to register to speak at the public hearing and provide their feedback directly to council. Information on how to register to speak and a link to our survey are available at Edmonton.ca/vehicle for hire. Between now and the 16th, administration will have meetings with various stakeholders to obtain feedback from them. All feedback will be presented at the public hearing. We invite the public to review the draft bylaw and complete our online survey to give us their feedback. Public input will be used to provide council with information to make an informed decision about the proposed bylaw.